Hello, my name is Kwan Xiao. In this video, I'll be helping Clovis College Information Systems students complete their graphics design for the web projects. I'll guide you step by step through GIMP as we work on Project 5. Please have the directions either printed out or open on your computer so you can follow along as I go through the steps. In this video, I'll show you how to create banners and cover photos for your website, Facebook page, and YouTube channel. Let's start by opening GIMP and the directions so that you can follow along. So we're going to start with creating a web banner. And let me go ahead and open up GIMP. So we want to create a new document with the dimensions of 960 by 500 pixels. That's kind of like, I think, the generic size for a banner to be used on a website. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to use the shortcut key of Control N, which allows me to create a new image. Let's set the width to 960, the height to 500. Let's click on Advanced Options and change the resolution down to 72. This helps keeps the file size down. Okay, and then let's scroll down to fill with instead of background color. It just so happens to be white, but we can just go ahead and fill it with white just to be sure. Okay, just going to do Control Shift J to fit the image in the window. Yep, it's a little bit small right now, but um, I'll zoom in and resize these panes as necessary. So the next thing we need to do is find and download a background image that reflects your interests or small business based on what you shared in an initial discussion. So based off what I shared, I ran a small business that is a virtual reality center. And also my interest was this video game called Destiny 2. And so in fact, it just came out with a new content. And I'm might as well use this opportunity to showcase uh, that new content for Destiny 2. All right, so ideally, to find these images, right, you go to Google, and then you want to use their image search. And it just so happened the new content for Destiny 2 is called Edge of Fate, so type that in there, and then you have a bunch of different images here that you can use. One thing that I highly recommend that you do is go to the tools and then select for the large, instead of, it usually defaults for us for the size to any size, but for our purposes, it's good to set it so that it's large. And so that helps find images that are high quality, and then that allows us to shrink it down to fit what we're trying to do. So for me, I find this one to be particularly suits well to a web banner, right? It doesn't have a lot of text. Like this one has a lot of text, and you notice it's square, and you notice our banner, it's kind of a rectangle. So this does not necessarily fit well. And this one, it's a little bit too noisy in my opinion. It's more like it has already words in there and then has different um, visual elements, so it's not as cohesive for me. I mean, for you guys, you can pick whatever you want. Like this one, I don't recommend, right? It has all the wording that we're actually trying to do already for a web banner. So my advice is avoid images that has a lot of words on it. Okay, pick a clean image like this because we're going to be adding our own words. Okay, so you can either just go ahead and right click on it and save image as and save it to your folder that you can locate later. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I've already downloaded that image, and it's this one here. And then let me show you what we're trying to do. So this is the finished product for part one. And so you notice we will be adding words. And then, given the image I selected, um, I kind of arranged the words in empty spaces. So ideally, you can you want to be able to arrange all your different headlines into one location, so like at the bottom or at the top. But given the image that I've picked, it just works out better for me to arrange my text around the visual elements that is used in this image. Okay. So I'm gonna right click on that image and open it with GIMP. Okay. Um, for right now, I'm gonna expand it so GIMP fills out my entire window, so I can kind of focus on this large image right now. Because what we want to do now, so oh yeah, and, just want to make sure that if you don't know what the image size is, you notice in the bottom right hand corner it shows you. So this is nice and big. It's 4,000 by 2,000. So if you click, like, let's say this one, it's 1920 by 1080, which is pretty decent. So this is actually another good one. Yeah, I would. This is another candidate I could have used. Anyways, so yeah, you want to find an image that is at least 1080, which is most of the standard screen size now for TVs. And higher is better because then you can always resize it. So let me go ahead and cross off what I've done. So now I'm going to resize the image. So it's slightly larger than a document. What does that mean? Well, if we go back to our document here that we created here, let me do Control Shift J. It's 960 by 500. So what that means is I'm going to resize it so that the height of this one is going to, instead of a 1140, which is huge for our canvas that we created, I'm going to shrink it down so it's slightly bigger. So I'm going to go to Image, Scale Image, and I'm going to change it so that the height is 600. This is about 100 pixels higher than our canvas. Scale that. Now I'll go ahead and click and drag that into our canvas. Okay. And I'm going to zoom out a little bit. So this kind of shows you the image, um, the size of that image that we resized is still bigger than our initial canvas. So what this means though, it allows me kind of like reposition or recrop the image, um, so that I can position it, um, to kind of like move the image so that the main visual elements are well positioned on the canvas. Yeah, so that's what I was trying to say. So, you can arrange it this way if you want to emphasize the visual element on the left. But generally, right, the safe bet is to center your visual element. And for me, I notice, right, there's a lot of blank space on the top. Like this space is not needed. So that's why I'm going to move it. So, yeah, so that the ground is more visible than the sky. But then, of course, is personal preference. Yeah. All right. So this looks good. And I didn't really mention it here, but it's good to rename the layer instead of having it called drop buffer. Just call it image. Hit OK. Right. Right. So now I'm gonna rearrange it to the right side of my screen here, so I can kind of follow along. So now, want to use the text tool to type out the main headline, which should be bold and large to make it easily readable, and also choose a color that contrasts with the background, so the headline is easy to read. So in the guided video, I use Oswald Bold with a font size 62, and I'm gonna also use white. White on a colorful background generally works. Like for this one, it's it works well with a white font. But if your image is really bright, then you might want to use a black font. So yeah, so let me go ahead and type that in. So I'm gonna zoom in a little bit, and then I'm gonna hit T on the keyboard, or you can just click on the letter A. It's already on Oswald Bold, but I'm gonna change the font to 62. Now, depending on what you used before, the spacing between the words might not be zero, so just make sure you reset all the different options here, okay? So that they're all zero. So I'm gonna just type in Destiny 2. Oops. Got to change the color. All right, I'm gonna change it to white. Yep. Destiny 2. Okay. Hit escape. That allows you to select the move tool and then kind of arrange it. And like I mentioned, ideally you want to be able to arrange it all at the bottom, but I'm not going to have enough space at the bottom for the font size I'm using. And you want the font to be nice and big to make it readable. Okay. All right. So I'm going to put it there. Now we want to go ahead and add a second headline that uses a different font um, that you chose for the first headline. So another besides Font Squirrel, which you guys have used in the past, I'd like to share with you this another website with lots of good fonts. It's called thefont.com. So you can just click on it by holding Control and click it, and then select Allow. And what I like about thefont.com is they organize fonts by theme. Okay, so right now these are just recently added fonts. But for me, since Destiny 2 is like a sci-fi theme type of game, I can just go to um, techno section and click on sci-fi. And it so happens the first one that I have on it available is Game of Squids, which um, grabs me. And so I went ahead and downloaded Game of Squids. I downloaded that one, and you notice there's different fonts that are um, sci-fi themed, and this is a good one, the NASA style font. And of course, you can go to like calligraphy. So these are all calligraphy fonts. And then you can go even more specific, like animals. I wonder what that looks like. Oh, okay. So these are more like um, clip arts or what they call dingbats. Interesting. So you can do stuff like cartoon, uh, western, do horror. Yeah. So some really neat fonts that you can easily navigate through the different themes they organize for you. Anyway, so I downloaded the Game of Squid font. Once again, it's good to unzip that font. And then the if you have a open type font or a true type font, you don't need to install both. Since GIMP is an open source software, it works better with open type. So what you do is double click on open type. If it doesn't have open type, true type works just as well. But open type is the best version of the font. And click install. But I'm not going to do it since I've already done it. And also, if you don't remember, you would have to save your project. So now is a good time to save your project. Which shortcut key should be Control S. Yeah. And I've already saved it, so I'm not going to do that. But save your project and then reopen it so that I can load that new font. So yeah, so let me go ahead and add the second headline now. All right, so I'm going to hit T on the keyboard. And then instead of, so I don't need to do that yet. I can, in the text options here, I'm going to search for the font I downloaded. So it's going to be different. So the font I downloaded is called Game of Squids. I'm going to stick to 62. Okay. Now, you can also change it here, but I just find it better if I change it in the options panel on the left. And then for me, I'm just going to type in Edge. Oh, what is the new expansion again? Oh, yeah, Edge of Fate. Yeah, I should know it. I haven't really been playing Destiny lately. In fact, the game I've been playing right now is Zenless Zone Zero. I recommend that. Anyways, yeah. So there it is. Edge of Fate. Let me zoom out a little bit more. Okay. Let me go ahead and just expand it because since this is an image here, I'm just gonna hit Escape and then hit M to move it. Just kind of mirror what I've done earlier. Yeah. To kind of fill this bottom left-hand corner here. Okay. Yeah, that looks good. All right, so that takes care of that step. Now we want to create a text box around it. Um, the step to create this is a little bit complicated, but once again, it's a good skill to learn. And sometimes the text box are easier on other softwares, especially Canva. But this is how you would create a text box through GIMP. So first we need to use the rectangle tool to draw a shape around our second line of text. Okay, let me go ahead and zoom out. And let me just select the background so that it doesn't have the text box selected around it. So I'm going to hit R for rectangle. I'm going to zoom in a little bit and then just draw a rectangle around it. Okay. And you can always rearrange the shape after you draw the rectangle. So yeah. And you notice for this particular font, it has trailing edges that goes towards the bottom. So just be aware of the font that you chose and just draw the text box so that it covers the entire font with even spacing. That looks pretty good. Yeah. And so now we want to create a layer based off of the shape we've drawn. So all you have to do is click this create a new layer button. Okay. And just if you haven't done so, just type in text box and stick with transparency. Okay. And you want to go ahead and move it to the top. Okay. All right. So I did those 2 steps. Now we want to fill this. It's not the square. It's shape. I need to um, cor correct that wording, revise it. Anyways, you want to use the color for the image that you've chosen to kind of make it like cohesive, right? You don't want to use like let's say bright neon green where there's no neon green in the image. So you don't want to use right a color palette that flows well with your image. So the easy way to do that is to use the color picker tool, which is the eyedrop icon, or you can just hit O on your keyboard. Okay. And then hover over the area that you want to use. So you notice I'm just clicking and dragging right now, and you notice my color box is changing. So I'm going to go with this one. Yeah, so notice that's the teal color. So I'm going to go with that. Okay. Go ahead and just use the drop down option, which is go to edit and then fill with foreground color. Okay, and you notice it covered up um, your text here, which is what we want. Okay, so now we can deselect the layer and then go to layers, crop layers to content, and now we just have a solid dotted yellow line. Okay, whoops. So we got that step done. Now we want to determine the current size of this text box. It's going to be different for you than for me. So the way to kind of figure out the layer is or to figure out the size is go to layer and go to scale layer. And for this particular text box is 567 by 85. Um, but my original one was 580 by 84. But so I'm just going to subtract 10 to create the new one. So the new text box should be 557 by 75. So I'm going to draw a text box, and in the size should be 557 by 75, right? Let me double check. Scale layer. Yep. So that's the right size. So we want to go ahead and create another new layer by just clicking that, and just stick with the name. It will create a number 1. Hit OK. And then we want to fill it with white. Hopefully the shortcut key works this time. Oh, it's not working now. Yeah. So I'm going to have to go to edit and then fill with background color. Okay. I'm working a little bit ahead. So I got this one down. Yep. Now I need to deselect it and then crop layer to content. And then I need to move it so it's inside my teal text box. For you guys, your text box would have been a different color. Now, instead of trying to eyeball it and make sure that it creates a even border, let's go ahead and use the alignment tool to do that for us. Okay. So if you don't remember, alignment tool is Q. Okay. And then you want to, in the align options here, relative to, I think it defaults to image. So you want to change that to pick reference object. So I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to just click on my colored box, which is beneath this white box now, or right rectangle. Now you notice um, it's referencing um, my teal box. Okay. Now I can just click vertically, uh, horizontal middle, and vertical middle. Yep. So yep, that looks. I already did it pretty well on initial placement, but for sure now it's perfectly aligned. Okay. Now we want to change the blend mode of the top text box so that it erases it. Okay. Okay. Oh, and then I believe I forgot to do this. I'm supposed to merge down. There we go. Yeah, so I forgot to add that direction there, and I'll update our um the directions to include that. So we need to merge down to be able to see the text. Okay. All right. And now we have a nice border around our second headline. Now we're going to create the round button, which kind of like with web banners, the way we're designing it is kind of either an announcement. You could, use businesses use web banners for advertising sales, new products, or if you're a content creator, new videos. So, like if I'm a Destiny 2 streamer, I'll say, hey, and a new content drop from Destiny came out called Edge of Fate. Click on this web banner to learn more, right? So that's what I'm. That's the theme of this exercise. Okay. So you notice earlier, when I showed you the finished web banner, that the button is over here. Yep. I don't know why I keep circling down here. It's up here. Yeah. Right. Right. So to do that rounded button, we're gonna do it a little bit different in the past. So the way to do that is we're gonna create a new document. So it's Control N. And for me, I'm just gonna use the word discover. So the width would fit that. If you're gonna use like multiple words like learn more, read more, it's going to have to be bigger, but it doesn't hurt to start with this size for now. And once again, we want to use a white background. Hit OK. So this is our new button here. And we want to go ahead and fill that white background with a color from our image. Okay. So I kind of like this bright orange here. So I'm going to hit O, do the color picker, kind of zoom in a little bit to kind of help me. And then I'm going to move my color picker until it's a bright orange. Or, yeah, that's bright enough for me. And then go back to this new document or this button that we have right now. And then hold Shift B for the bucket to fill it with the color you picked out from your image. So for me, it's orange. It's not going to be orange for you guys. It's going to be another color from the image that you've picked out for your part one project. Okay, I got those two steps done. Instead of a sharp corner like that, we want to create a rounded corner. So to do that, we're going to go to Filters, Decor, Round Corners. Stick with the default edge radius of 15. Obviously, the higher the edge radius, the more round it is. However, you want to take off drop shadow, and we don't need a background because we'll be using the image that we've already selected. And just hit OK. All right, so you notice you create a duplicate of the original shape here. And then if I zoom in, you can see the rounded button. So what you want to do now is from the thumbnail, click and drag it into your project and then drop it on top of your image. Okay. So I'm going to zoom out and hit M on my keyboard so I can move this. And then I'm going to kind of fit image in window. Yeah, I think I'll go with that. Is it down here? Nah, I think it looks better up here. So depending on what you guys picked out, you would have to arrange your button in a different location than mine. Okay, so that looks good to me. So that takes care of that. So now we're going to add text to the button. Okay, so we're going to add a call to action above the button. So like I mentioned, I'm going to use discover, but for you guys, you can use learn more, read more, um, or other similar words. So once again, you want to make sure that the font and color are consistent with the existing design. So my font color has been white, so let's stick to that for this particular project. All right, so I'm going to hit T on the keyboard, and I'm going to go back to, so it's not good to use too many different fonts. I think visually, two different fonts is good enough. So I'm going to go back to Oswald Bold. I'm going to use the font size of 52, and I'm going to use a white font. Okay, and I'm going to zoom in and just type over it and type. I'm going to use the word discover. I'm going to hit escape and hit M. And once again, you want to move your pointer so that it hovers over the letters so that you're just moving the letter. Okay. Um, we don't really need to create a new layer group. I think I'll delete this step from the updated directions here. So, however, let's go and use the alignment tool. So hit Q, and then just once again, we're going to align it relative to the pick reference object, which is the drop buffer. Oh, I forgot to rename it, but I'll rename it soon. Okay. Yep. So instead of the button being called drop buffer, let's just call it button. Yeah, there we go. All right. All right, so that looks good. So let me do Control Shift J. Let me go and just select a background. Yep. Yeah, that looks good. And now we want to go ahead and export it and save it as a JPEG with a quality of 75. So let me go ahead and make this nice and big. Control Shift J just to give you guys a better view of what a good web banner that I'm looking for. So it's going to be two headlines and a call to action button. Okay. So this is what I'm going to, and then your second headline needs to have a text box around it. So this is the elements I'll be looking for your web banner. So now you can just go to export and then locate where you save your file. So for me, I like to save it in Google Drive, and I've already saved it. Yeah, so it's your first name once again with your last initial, project 5, image 1. Okay, and just make sure when you um, export it, the quality is set to 75. All right, so this concludes part 1, and then for part 2, we'll be moving on to creating a cover photo slash timeline for your Facebook page. All right, so let's start part 2 by creating a new document, which is Control N on your keyboard. And Facebook has defined um, the size of their cover photo slash timeline to be 820 by 312. So if you go above or below, it's not going to look right. So let's go ahead and stick to what Facebook expects for their cover photos. So let's go ahead and put in 820 for the width, and then the height is 312. Expand the advanced options so you can change the resolution to 72. And then we want to go ahead and set the background color to fill with white. Okay, that takes care of the first three steps. And then now we want to use the rectangle tool to draw a image placeholder on the left side of this document we just made, taking about 2/3 of the white background. So let's go and hit rectangle. Um, I'm gonna kind of pan around a little bit, zoom out, and I'm gonna just draw it slightly outside of the canvas that I've created. And that looks good. Yep. And then from there, you want to go ahead and create a new transparent layer. So let me go ahead and zoom this better, arrange that better. And I'm going to go ahead and call it image placeholder. Okay. And now we can go ahead and fill it with black, which is the foreground color, which is control comma. Yep. Let me go ahead and do control shift J to fit the image in window. Okay. So that takes care of those two steps. So now we want to create a headline banner. So let me kind of show you what we're working towards for part two. And so we're working towards this. Um, I'm going to be continue to promote Destiny. So this Facebook cover photo is going to be announcing the new content that Destiny just recently dropped. Ideally, you want to start promoting this new content before um, the deadline where it actually dropped. But you know, this is already after it, so it's not going to be a big deal. So the cover photo and or timeline that you'll be using in the future is you're going to use it to promote your business, either as sharing that there's a sale or there's a new product or new content if you're a streamer. Okay. So, right, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and draw that rectangle tool. So that for the banner. So I'm gonna kind of pan it a little bit, draw a rectangle like that. And then you can always resize it even after you let it go, reposition it. Yeah, that looks about right. Yeah. Let me go ahead and expand this a little bit more. Yeah, that's good. All right, so it's just you're just eyeballing it for this one. And let's create a new image layer out of that rectangular selection. And this time we're going to call it banner. Hit OK. And then fill it um, and choose the color. So since I've already picked out an image for my left side, let me show you what that looks like. It's this one. And this image has a lot of the dark teal or different gradient of teal. And this is something I've used in the prior image. So what that means is if I click on the color, GIMP remember what I chose last. And I think this will work well with this second image I'm using for part two. Okay. And I'm going to hold control comma to fill it with foreground color. Yeah, that looks good. So that's the banner area now. Okay. Now, I'm going to apply the gradient effect where it transitions from the image to the right side of the cover photo. So to do that, we want to add a white layer mask. So it's this icon here next to the delete selected layers. If it's on black, you want to go and make sure you select white and hit OK. And you notice there's a white layer mask that is added there. All right, so once you have um, add the white layer mask, we want to go ahead and use the gradient tool now. So hit G on your keyboard. And then from there, you want to go ahead and kind of zoom in to your project. And then kind of, you want to select a gradient within the banner, within the black placeholder image area. Let me go and show you what that looks like. So I'm going to click and drag. And then you don't want to go over the white area. You notice it kind of double up on the fade effect. So just kind of end it where just in front of where the black image border is. Yeah, right there is good. And then the center is usually here, but I like to drag it to kind of drag it to the right to make the fade effect a little bit more prominent. Yeah, I like that. That looks good. And then the next thing you want to do is make sure that your background is color set to black, and then sorry, your foreground color set to black, and then set the gradient option so that it's foreground color to transparent, which is the same as FG. FG stands for foreground color. Okay, make sure that's selected, so that's good. And then hit M to apply the effect. So let me go ahead and cross those steps out. Yep, we already adjust start and beginning. Yep, and then yeah, the reason I use M is I was just selecting another move tool, so that's all done there. Now is a good time to save it as a GIMP file because what that means is let me go ahead and bring this down here. It's being hard to manipulate all of a sudden. Um, you want to go ahead and save it as a GIMP file, which is the XCF, and then just call it like yeah, basically your first, last, and then project 5, um, image 2. Yeah, that's a good starting point. And then just kind of locate where you like to save your file. So I'm just gonna go ahead and yeah, look for it is a lot of folders. There we go, project 5, and just save it in here like that. Okay. So what that means is you want to treat this kind of like your template file. So what you can do with that is you can reuse this layout over and over again, advertising new sales, different content, and different product drops, right? So you don't have to restart and recreate a new cover photo each time you want to announce something new for your business. So yeah, so treat this as a template file. Okay. So now we're going to start adding text. So since I'm going to be promoting that new content that Destiny 2 just dropped, I'm going to kind of advertise the date that content was available. So ideally, I should have been promoting this type of content before it drops, right? To kind of build excitement and anticipation um, for, for the new content. So I'm gonna hit the text tool, and then at this point, it's good to kind of deselect whatever is active. So I'm gonna do Control Shift A, and then I'm gonna use the font I've been using before, which is Oswald Bold. 40 is about right. So you want a font to be able to fit inside this banner. Okay. Okay. So yeah, 40 does look good, but I want to use white as my font color. Okay. There we go. And the content drop for the Edge of Fate is actually on July 15th, 2025. I'm going to hit escape and hit M to kind of rearrange this a little bit more. Now, instead of trying to guess where the center part of this banner is, let me show you a more exact way to do that. So to do it more exactly is I'm going to draw a rectangle tool. You select the rectangle tool and draw a rectangular selection around the white area of my cover photo. And then from there, I'm going to hit Q, which is the arrange tool. And then from there, I can select um, vertical middle. Yep. And it horizontal, it's not going to work because it's right. It's going to be in the middle of this white square area. So I am going to kind of bring it up a little bit more. So I'm going to hit M on the keyboard, move this up a little bit more. I can select a different layer to see it better. Yeah, that looks good now. Yep. All right. So let's move on. Oh, okay. One thing I didn't mention when I was using that align tool, let me go back to it. Um, it needs to be set so that the align is relative, not because before in our part one project is we were using a reference object. You want to change it so that it's relatively to the selection. Okay. Yeah. Yep. Now we want to add additional content to the right side of this cover photo. So I'm going to go ahead and add, oh, let me go ahead and take, well, I'll leave the selection box around the white area because it will help me arrange my additional content that I'm adding here. So I'm going to just stick with Oswald Bold. I'm going to, oh, this time I don't want white, right? White on white, you can't see it. I wanted it black. Okay. Oops. Let me bring that back. I inadvertently selected a different tool with a shortcut key. All right, so it's Destiny 2. And then I'm going to hit escape, hit M to bring that up a little bit. And then since I already have the selection around the white area, I can just hit Q and then it's already aligned to selection, vertically aligned. Yep, that's good. All right, the next thing I want to add is the name of the new content, which is Edge of Fate. And then I'm going to use the same font I used prior for that, which is Game of Squids. And then I'm going to type in Edge of Fate. It's a little bit big, right? So I'm going to shrink it down a little bit. So I need to select the text now and then change it to maybe 25. Yeah, that looks good. Hit escape. I'm going to zoom in so I can, when I move it, I'm able to move it properly. Yep, that looks good. All right, since my selection box is still around there, I'm going to hit Q and then vertical middle. Yep. And then since this is, I'm going to keep promoting the Destiny thing, so I'm going to add the Destiny logo, which is something I found off of Google image search. And I've already resized it. Did I? Yeah, so I have this already resized. Because like the original photo, let me go ahead and show you what that looks like. It's big, right? I might, since I already have the big one started, let me go ahead and start with that. So it has a lot of empty space. So, well, yeah, let me go ahead and just resize this image. So I'm going to resize it so it's much smaller. So this is something trial and error here. And then I'm going to click and drag that into my project here. Oops. And let me hit M, Control Shift J so I can, oops. Oh, okay. So I need to move my drop image buffer on the top. So there we go. So I'm able to move that and not the image placeholder. And I'm just gonna rename that logo. Now it's still a little bit big, right? I'm gonna size it down a little bit more. So now I'm not resizing the image anymore, so I'm gonna resize the layer. So I'm gonna resize it so maybe 100. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, that looks good. And I think I still have my selection box around the white area, so I'm gonna hit Q. Yep, vertical middle. Yep. At this point, it's I don't need to have to use my selection box anymore for the white area because I'm gonna move on to replace the placeholder with an image, the black area. So let me go and cross that out. So I'm gonna deselect that rectangle. So it's Control Shift A, and you notice it went away. All right. Okay, so let's see. Oh yeah, this is what I'm working towards. I found once again this image off of Google Image Search. So like I mentioned before, it's good to avoid images that already have words, right? Because you're adding words in this project. So yeah, this looks good. So let me go ahead and open it in GIMP. Once again, it's a pretty relatively large image considering that our cover photo, let me go to zoom it. This is really 820 by 312. So I'm going to resize this. Okay. So if you read the direction here, a good starting point is to resize the image so that the height is about 100 pixels taller than the actual space for the cover photo. So our cover photo, the height is 312. So a good starting point is 400. So I'm going to scale this image. So I'm going to go to Image, Scale Image. And instead of 1606, I'm going to just type in 400. Okay. Then I'll drag and drop this into our image here. And yeah, that looks pretty good. I'm going to hit M so I can move this around. And you notice why it's a good idea to kind of size it a little bit bigger than the cover photo, because then it allows you to kind of the freedom to arrange the photo so it fits as best as possible within the dimensions of the cover photo for Facebook. Yeah, that looks good. So you notice if I do it down here, it doesn't really show all the characters um, that are shown in this image. So I believe that's a hunter, that's a that's the tank, and then which is they call Titan, and that's the Warlock, which is the magician um, in Destiny. Yep, and that looks good. So instead of call it rename it so it's not drop buffer, it's just rename it so it's called image. Okay. Now we want to change the blend. Let me go ahead and strike off what we've just done. We want to change the blend mode so it's multiply. Where's that? Yep, right there. And then select this black image placeholder, and we want to go ahead and change the foreground to white. And then we want to have the bucket tool, which is Shift B, or you can just click the bucket icon and fill it with white. And that brings out the image we just dropped in there. There's a few more things we need to do to kind of clean up some of the graphical element, especially this fade that you're seeing. It's not properly shown right now. Okay, so to do that, let's see here. Let me strike off what we just done. We need to do that to create a new layer group, which is this folder icon here. Um, kind of drag that to the top, drop the image in the layer group, and then drop the, let's see, the image placeholder in the layer group as well. And then at this point, you would just have to rearrange the layers to ensure all the text and visual elements are clearly visible. So I'm going to click on a banner layer, bring that to the top. And now you can see that the fade effect is visible, but then my date is gone. So I just need to drag my date to the top, and there it is. Let me click on the background so I can see it without all the selections. Yeah, that looks good. Right. So at this point, it's a good spot to export your project. So you want to go ahead and, I believe, Shift E. No, Control Shift E. Yeah. So Control Shift E is the shortcut key for exporting image. Um, so you want to change it so it's JPEG, and then you want it so it's your name, last initial, project 5, image 2, hit export, and just make sure that the quality is 75 and hit export again. Okay. All right, so that concludes part 2. For part 3, we'll be working on creating a YouTube channel cover photo. All right, so before I start on creating a new document for the YouTube cover photo, or in YouTube's lingo, it's actually they will use the word banner image. Let me kind of explain to you. There's some interesting approach to how YouTube uses the banner image. Is that even though it recommends that you upload a 2560 by 1140 um, image, which is what they call QHD, um, it's only visible on TVs. And I'm pretty sure not all of us watch most of us don't consume YouTube on TV, right? It's usually on our mobile devices or laptops. And so when you do it on those devices, especially on a mobile device, it crops it so that this is the actual visible area. So sometimes it's not always a good idea just to upload a image size for TV. You want to make sure that you have a visible area that works on all devices. And so the for part three, we're gonna start with what they call the safe area for your branding, so that when people visit your YouTube channel, they can see your logo and other important images that reflects your branding or business. Okay, so that's what we're not going to start with that QHD resolution. Okay, so we're going to start with kind of what they call the safe area. So we're going to create a new document. So go ahead and hit Control N, and then we're going to use that dimension there, which is 2048 by 320. Okay. Once again, we want to set the resolution to 72, and we want to fill with white. Okay. Then let's see, I'm going to rearrange my screen so that I can see my right pane. Okay. And let's go ahead and add a logo. And so by all means, use your own logo you have created before this class. If you haven't created a logo before, use the one that you've developed for project 2. So what I'm going to use is I'm going to use a logo that I've made for my prior business, which is called Immersion, which is the VR center. So I'm going to do Control Shift J to fit the image in window. And I'm just going to this time click and drag the image into my project. And I'm going to convert it. Okay. And I'm going to kind of resize it so that it's smaller. Um, that looks good. Let me hit transform. And let me kind of show you where we're working towards. We're working towards this. So this is what people in the industry would call the safe area that is guaranteed to be displayed on all devices. Okay. And then this larger YouTube banner image will only be visible when people use it on TV or a large display for their desktop computer. Okay. All right, so what you want to do is arrange and rescale your your logo, so that it's on the left side of the image banner. And on the left, we're going to create image placeholders. Okay. Let me go ahead and minimize that. So that's done. Okay, so let's go ahead and align it so that the logo is uh, vertically middle. Oops, sorry, horizontally middle. So let me go ahead and hit undo. Yeah. I should call that horizontally, so I think I'll fix that. So it looks like I did it pretty well in the first place. All right. The next thing I need to do is use the rectangle select tool to draw the placeholder shape, which would be on the right side. Let me kind of zoom in, pan, and then it's depending on, this is really up to you. So let me go ahead and hit the rectangle tool, draw it so it's outside, but I don't want it so big because, right, I want to have 2 images to be displayed on the right. So that looks pretty good. Yeah. So now I'm going to create a new layer off that rectangular selection. And yeah, image 1 is good, or image 1 placeholder, I think is a better name. Yeah, there we go. Instead of white, we want to have transparency, hit OK. And then now we want to go ahead and fill it with black, which in this case is my background color. So it's control period. Okay. Um, okay, so let me go back to the directions here. Oh, I call it image 1, but yeah, a placeholder I think is a better name. Build a placeholder with black. And now I'm going to deselect, Control Shift A, and then go to layer, crop layers to content. And then I want to duplicate the layer, which is this two rectangles here. Okay. And then I'm going to rename it so it's image 2 placeholder. And then hit M and then move it to the other side. So it looks like it's a little bit big, so I'm going to rearrange my image 1 placeholder a little bit more to the left so that it gives me room to range it. Yep. And then I want a more narrow border. Yeah, I think that looks good. Now you want, I don't think I mentioned it here, but you want to go ahead and align it again horizontally so that the black placeholder is flush with your banner. So let me go ahead and click on that and horizontal align that. Yep, that looks good. All right, so now we want to go ahead and just save this version as a GIMP file and just call it template. So do Control S and just call it project 5, um, part 3, template, um, and then just do like maybe mobile. Yeah. So that way it gives you a good idea of what the document looks like. So, and I'm gonna hunt down my where I usually save it. I'm just gonna save it at a default location. All right. So that's that. Now we want to go ahead and add our photos into these image placeholders here. And you want to kind of resize it appropriately. So using the technique we learned in our prior um, uh, activity, which is creating the Facebook cover photo. So what we want to do is find those image either on Google or screenshots or your own photos. So if you don't remember, Immersin is my virtual reality center business. So I'm gonna highlight all the um, VR games that people in the past was able to experience at my VR center. So I'm gonna open up, let's see, one of the good ones, Space Pirate Trainer. So that's a good one. So I can just right click, open it with GIMP, Control Shift J to fit the image in window. It's a pretty big image. And then, so a good starting point is the height of this image, which is 320. So I'm gonna resize the height to 400. So go to image, scale image, just type in 400 scale. So it's always good to start with big images because if you scale up from a smaller image, that's when you get um, pixelated and low quality image. But you always get high quality image when you're scaling down. Okay. So with that resize, I'm going to drag the tab at the top, hover over my project and drop it in. Okay. And then sort of call it drop buffer. You can call it image 1, but I'm going to call it the name of the game, which is Space Pirate Trainer. So just keep in mind, this is going to be different from what you'll be using, um, right? You'll be using it to kind of reflect your interests or your business. So I'm going to hit M to kind of move this into that first placeholder, which is here. Pan it here. Yeah. Oops. Yeah. Just make sure you don't drag the other elements. Yeah. So right now it's kind of covered up, right? So hopefully you remember the technique that we use to reveal the image in the placeholder. So first things you need to do is make sure that image you dropped in is still selected. Instead of normal mode, we're going to change it to multiply. Okay, let me go ahead and bring that above the image 1 placeholder now. And then select the image 1 placeholder. And then we want to go ahead and fill it with white. So which is Shift B for the bucket. And there it is. That image showed up. But you notice you can still see the image outside of the cropped placeholder. So once again, you need to add a layer. So I have a layer group now. Put that in there. Put that in there. There it is. Now the image is cropped within that image placeholder. So now you can just hit M again to kind of move it, to kind of position it so that whatever image you've put in there is placed properly. So yeah, that looks good. So I'm going to call this layer group 1. Okay. So now I'm going to add a second image into the second box placeholder here. So the second image is another fun VR game called Rec Room. It's one of the best multiplayer VR experiences in the game. Go ahead and convert it. Once again, it's a large image, so I want to scale it down so it can fit well within the banner, which is about 400. Scaled it. In a tab, click and drag it into your project, drop it in your banner, drag it into where your placeholder is. Okay, and then once again, this is a rinse and repeat. So what we need to do is I'm going to rename it. It's called Rec Room. And then instead of normal mode, I'm going to change it to multiply. And then select the image to placeholder and then fill it with white. Okay. And then once again, I need to create a new layer. I'm going to call that new layer group 2 now. Drop those layers into there. And then there he goes. Let me go ahead and pan it. Zoom in, control mouse wheel up. And then hit M to move. And now move my rec room image. Yeah, I don't want to emphasize the wizard, so I'm going to have the wizard outside of the visible area. Yeah, that looks good. Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and I'm going to do Control Shift J to fit image in window. Yep, that looks good. So this is a safe banner, which will be displayed on all this on devices. So at this point, it's good to go ahead and just export this project. You don't want to save over your template, right? Because if you do, then you have to kind of delete and remove all these elements because, right, you can't really, once you dropped an image into the placeholder, you can't undo it. So at this point, you want to export. So I think it's Control Shift E. Yep. Yep. And then just call it JPEG. Export it using 75% for the quality. There it is. All right. Now we can just be aware though that it is too small to actually upload. So you can't upload the one that we just worked on. This is really, it's more of a visual representation for us or for you guys to kind of kind of understand what your YouTube channel banner image would look like on a tablet or smartphone. Okay. So now let's go ahead and resize it so it will be visible, so it will look good on a desktops and TVs. So we want to go ahead and go to image, go to let's see, canvas size. Yep, is right underneath transform. And then from here, we want to increase the height and make sure that if it's linked like this, you want to unlink it. That way you don't change the width. We only want to change the height. And then we want to change it to 1152. Hit tab and you notice the preview pane expand. Now you want to go and hit center to place what we just created in the middle. Okay. Make sure the resize layer is none and have it set so that it's filled with transparency. So let's go ahead and hit resize. So you notice it got bigger. Okay. Um, Here, you want to go ahead and save it as a larger template file. So file, save as, which is Control Shift S. And then I'm just going to call this one desktop or TV. Yeah, let's call it TV. Okay. So at this point, you can just start adding elements to the TV size banner. So first things first, that is always good to do is kind of add a background color. All right. So in order to add your white background over the transparency, you need to go to layer and select layer to image size. And so it defaults to black, but I'm going to go ahead and fill it with white. And then from here, you can just start adding images. So what I'm going to do is, once again, I'm going to highlight some VR experiences. So I'm going to open up the blue. So this one is going to be interesting. Actually, I'm going to click and drag it to the project for this part. So you notice now my images are a little small. So like I mentioned before, it's usually not good to transform the images so that it's going from small to big. But for the sake of time, I'm just gonna do that anyways. And then I'm gonna zoom out more. And then I'm just gonna arrange this. Oops. Yeah, let's go ahead and hit transform. And then hit M and then move it down. Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna move it so that the border is about the same size as this border here. Okay. So yeah, so it's just showing the top part of the whale here. And it's called the blue, by the way. Yeah. I think I'll stick with that. That's fine. And then this is Google Earth in VR, which is one of my favorite experiences. It's gonna shift T to transform it. So I'm gonna make it bigger. Hit transform, click on transform, hit M to move it, and then I'm gonna move it so that it fills at the top part. I'm gonna zoom in. Yeah, that looks good. Okay. Now a better way to do this is that you could have created a black placeholder, a black image placeholder at the bottom and top part of the expanded canvas size. So that because what that allows you to do, like especially for the whale, I could have moved the image of the whale more up, so that you can see the body of the whale better instead of just the top. Okay, so it's really up to you. You know, by all means, if you want to create horizontal placeholder at the top and bottom of the expanded canvas size, by all means do it. But if not, you can just do it like how I did it, just arrange it so that it's top and bottom. Okay, so this is what I'll be looking for your YouTube channel banner image. That is for the TV. Horizontal images at the top and bottom, and then center images at the middle, and then your logo on the left side. Okay, so we got one more part to do. So let me go ahead and cross all this out. And yeah, so you want to go ahead and export this file, Control Shift E, and then you want to just go ahead and rename it so that it's just called TV export, export, and then you can move on to the next part, which is the last part we'll be working on for this project 5, which is creating a YouTube custom thumbnail for your videos. Right, so let's begin part 4 by creating a new document with the dimensions of 1280 by 720. So let's Control N, 1280 for the width, 720 for the height. Expand the advanced options, change the resolution to 72, and then fill with white. Okay, Control Shift J. Well, looks like I just need to rearrange my GIMP. Oh, there we go. So that takes care of the first 2 steps. And now we want to just go ahead and use the rectangle tool to draw a shape for the text box that spans across the bottom of the document. So now I do want to Control Shift J to fit the image in window. And let me kind of show you what we're working towards. So we're working towards something like this. So I'm planning to use this custom thumbnail image for the rest of the videos I'll be making for IS42, which is just one more. I guess I would just replace the older ones too. Anyways, so this is the bottom text box that you'll be creating. So it's not going to take up that much space of the thumbnail. So it's a narrow text box at the bottom. So let's go ahead and I'm going to zoom out a little bit and then hit R for the rectangle tool. And just do it by ear. I think that's good. And then you want to create a new layer off of that rectangular selection and call it text box 1. Because right, you might add more text boxes. But for now, let's just call it text box 1, and let's just go ahead and fill it with your brand color. So, the brand colors I've been using before, it's based off of Destiny 2. Let me try this. Try this color. Yeah, let me try this color. And then it'll be control, comma. Yep, because it's the foreground color. All right, let's go with that for now. Um, okay, we did that. Okay. We want to, besides cropping the text box layer to its content, we need to go ahead and deselect the content and just go to layer, crop layers to content. Okay, that takes care of that part. Now we want to go to add your headline text. Okay. Just hit T. Right. For me, once again, before I even start, I think let me do this over. It seems for me it defaults to monospace, but I like to use Oswald. I think that's a nice thick font. 40 is a good starting point. Instead of orange, right? Because it will just be invisible over another orange. I'm going to change it to white. And then I'm going to just go ahead and start typing. Clovis Community College IS42A guided videos. Now for you guys, once again, it's going to be based off of your interests or small business, right? So maybe this is a little small, so I'm going to bump it up to maybe 64. And that looks good. And hit escape, hit M so I can move it. Yeah, that's good. So sometimes, depending on how much words you have, the other thing you can do besides increasing the font size is increasing the spacing between the letters. Okay. But I don't need to do that here. Okay. Let's see. So what I want to do now, it's going to be 94 tomorrow, is kind of go back and arrange it so it's um, horizontally and vertically aligned to the text box, right? So I'm going to hit Q for the alignment tool, and then I'm going to change it so that it's relative to a pick reference object. So let me go ahead and pick the reference object. So let me zoom in, and I'm just going to click on the text box, and it says it right here, text box 1. Now I will just go ahead and hit vertical middle and horizontal middle. Yep. And you notice it's shifted slightly. Now it's nice and centered within the text box. So let me go do Control Shift J. Yeah, that looks good, right? Um, so at this point, you can save this as a template file. So I just can Control S and just call it Project 5 Part 4 template. Don't need the TV. Yeah. Okay. And so what this means is you can just go back to this and just add replace certain elements as right. So let me go and show you my finished project, which is this one, right? So I guess the other thing I could have added is project 5 and then the two logos, but the image is pretty much static as well. So the only thing that would change from all my other thumbnails, specifically for this class, would be just a number, right? So it would be number 4, number 2, number 1, number 6. And by the way, um, we are approaching our last week. So the 6th project would be our last project for this class. All right, so yeah, so I'll let you guys do the rest. Just follow the instructions here and just use all the techniques that you learned from the prior parts of Project 5. So good luck, and looking forward to your YouTube channel, YouTube banner images, your thumbnail, custom thumbnail, your Facebook, and your web banner.